When we think of the best teams assembled in basketball history, many of our minds go to the 1992 Dream Team, a 12-man roster that featured 11 Hall of Famers, or the 2012 Olympic team that will most likely feature 10 Hall of Famers by the time these guys retire and are up for consideration. While these teams were the best in their eras, what if we could construct a 12-man roster that would dominate in any era, with each player in their prime? This is Topic Tackle. Let's go. What's good, people? JC3 here, and these are the parameters by which I'm constructing this all-time team. Shout out to J. Russ for this idea, which he discussed on his podcast, so if you want to hear his lineup, you can click the link in the description. Each starter and backup, they must be at their primary position as well, so we can't be putting LeBron at power forward or point guard, for example. Beginning with the starting point guard, I'm selecting 15-16 Steph Curry. Curry's unanimous MVP season saw him lead the Warriors to a record 73 wins, and notched the single-season record for three-pointers made with 402, solidifying him as the greatest shooter ever and placing him in the argument for greatest point guard ever. Curry was incredibly efficient and effective, finishing in the 50-40-90 club and leading the league with a 31.5 PER and 17.5 win shares. Starting at the two guard is this guy who was in some documentary about dancing. I think it was called The Last Dance or something. The season that is widely considered as MJ's best is 90-91. In his 7th year as a pro, Jordan captured his second MVP while leading the Bulls to 61 wins. He led the league in scoring and PER, and the latter mark still stands as the 5th best ever. Jordan made the All-NBA and All-Defensive First Teams, and only dropped 2 games in the playoffs en route to championship number 1. At small forward is one of the most physically gifted players ever, LeBron Ramon James. Yes, I just found out that Ramon is his middle name. The most dominant year of LeBron's career was 12-13, as he led the Heat to a 66-16 record, with a 27-game win streak included within. James was incredibly efficient from the field at 56.5% and from 3 at 40.6%, making this the only season in his career in which he shot above 40% from 3. His 31.59 PER led the league and was good enough for 8th all-time. James notched his second Finals MVP as he led the Heat to a Game 7 Finals victory over the Spurs. The starting power forward slot will be filled by the undisputed GOAT at that position, Tim Duncan. Specifically, I'm going with the 02-03 version of Duncan, the league's most valuable player and the main reason why the Spurs were able to win a title. He led the NBA in win shares with 16.5, finished 3rd in PER, and made the All-NBA and All-Defensive First Teams en route to a 60-win season. And the popular myth that Duncan has always played on stacked teams didn't prove to be true in 02-03, as he was the lone All-Star on a team with David Robinson in the final year of his career and a young Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. His 24 postseason games with the Spurs were impeccable, and his 5.94 win shares still stands as the best in playoff history. And rounding out the starting 5, the Big Diesel from 99-2000. Now, Bleacher Report has an article that ranks this season from Shaq as the greatest individual season ever, albeit this article is from 2012, but the numbers don't lie. O'Neal was 1 vote away from being named the first ever unanimous MVP, and he was absolutely deserving of that title. Shaq led the Lakers to 67 wins, while leading the league in scoring, field goal percentage, PER, offensive and defensive win shares, total win shares, and win shares per 48. In 23 playoff games, Shaq posted insane numbers and even upped those in 6 finals games. When Shaq is called the most dominant player ever, just know that the 99-2000 season is a huge reason why. Backing up Steph Curry on this all-time team is 86-87 Magic Johnson. Irvin was on a mission to bring the Lakers back to the top after the 86 Celtics steamrolled the league, and he did just that, beginning with an MVP season where he led the league in assists, offensive win shares, and win shares per 48, and ending with an NBA championship against the Celtics where he recorded more steals than turnovers, missed only 1 free throw, and 1 Finals MVP. What a better player to have behind MJ than his protege, the Black Mamba. And although Kobe didn't win a chip with the 05-06 Lakers, I honestly don't know who could have. This was his most dominant year as a pro. His scoring ability, check that. The way in which he scored this season has yet to be matched to this day. Yes, I'm talking to you, James Harden, because Kobe wasn't scoring all his points on threes and free throws, and the pace of play was much slower in 05-06 than it is today. Kobe still averaged 35.4 points per game. This season included Bryant's 62-point game in 3 quarters against Dallas and the famous 81-point game, both of which were part of 6 games in which he scored 50 or more. Subbing in for LeBron is one of the most versatile and unique players ever, Kevin Durant. And while Durant has developed a more well-rounded game over the years, his impressive season to date, the most impressive that is the 13-14 MVP campaign with OKC. Durant led the league in scoring, PER, win shares, offensive win shares, and win shares per 48, while leading the Thunder to 59 wins. Behind Tim Duncan is the man who beat him out for MVP in 03-04. That's was Kevin Garnett, who earned 120 of 123 first place votes. This was an impressive campaign for KG, as he averaged a double-double, led the league in rebounding, PER, win shares, and win shares per 48. Most importantly, KG led the Timberwolves to 58 wins and 2 playoff series victories. Now at the backup center. This is a tough one, as I could go with Wilt, Kareem, or Russell, 3 legends who changed the game for real. But for this all-time team, I'm going with the only guy who could get in Shaq's head by Shaq's own admission, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. In 93-94, the MVP led a team with no other All-Stars to 58 regular season wins, while finishing in the top 5 in points, blocks, PER, defensive win shares, and total win shares. His playoff opponents, Drexler's Trailblazers, Barkley's Suns, Stockton Malone Jazz, and Ewing's Knicks. This has got to be one of the toughest roads to a title ever, and Hakeem posted these numbers en route to a championship. And now for my 2 extras at any position. This is where some controversy could come in, no doubt. The 11th roster spot will be claimed by 18-19 Kawhi Leonard. Was his 60-game regular season memorable? Not so much. I mean, his numbers were great, but what obviously stands out is Leonard's 2019 playoffs with Toronto. He averaged 30.5 points per game for a championship team, placing him in the company of these other champions. He led all players in win shares with 4.9, ranking him 6th all-time in postseason history for this statistic, and he did this in his first and only playoff run with the Raptors. This is a 2K type storyline if you ask me. And finally, because I prefer another guard instead of a big man, the final roster spot goes to John Stockton in his 88-89 season. He led the league in assists and steals, with the latter mark being the highest of his career. He also ranked in the top 5 in offensive defensive win shares, total win shares, and win shares per 48. Let me know in the comments down below who should have made my team and who makes your 12-man all-time roster. We'll be back with more Topic Tackle coming soon. Stay solid, people.